I've had severe issues with fertility. I've had fibroids as huge as this, right? The first time I went
What
to
I find incredibly painful as a woman is to know that there are a lot of women torturing themselves, placing themselves under the knife to look a way
Now,
that
what makes white or European standards ultimate? I don't know how we have all bought into this, because we are naturally beautiful no matter where we come from.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Pink Room XP. Here we are again with our co-hostesses Teresa Alvarez Diaz and Shonda Robertson. This is actually our final Pink Room for the season. And then we'll be starting up again next season. But we want to invite you to, after this Pink Room, go back, rewatch, share, have the conversations, comment, let us know, email us if you want to. Email us about Pink Room if you have any suggested topics. And today our topic is white beauty standards and how they hurt us. Now you might be saying, but why white beauty standards? We need to frame and remember that for a long time, the standard that was followed or was made, or we were made to believe was the standard that we all needed to rise to, was usually a European-based standard, right? And
Right.
that was in everything. It's in intellect, it's in school, academics, and it also is in the beauty, in the world of beauty and fashion. So we have a lot of brown women, black women, indigenous women, Asian women who have grown up to believe that proximity to that white standard is what will make them beautiful. And not only the women, the men have also believed that their women should be, or they need to be close to that standard in order for them to be attractive, appealing, or beautiful. We want to debunk that today. So we want to start by sharing with you a video that has come out talking about chemical relaxers, which black women all over the world, and also Latina women, even Asian women, these chemical relaxers and the damage that they have created, the havoc that they have wreaked for women. We want to share that with you and just have a discussion further on about these beauty standards. Here we go.
90% of black women have used relaxers at some point in their lives to chemically straighten their hair. For many, it's something they started doing when they were children. New reporting in the New York Times Magazine highlights the severe and often unknown health risks these products can pose. Chemicals in multiple mainstream hair relaxers sold in the U.S. have been linked to reproductive disorders, infertility, and cancers. Despite these threats, the products are largely unregulated and aggressively marketed towards black women and girls. In her research, contributing writer Linda Villarosa spent more than a year interviewing government officials, health nonprofit workers, university scientists, participants in medical studies, plaintiffs in lawsuits, and more. She found what she calls a preventable health crisis. And Linda joins us now. Linda, welcome. Thank you very much. When you started working on this project, what was the question you were trying to answer? And did you expect that it would take a year of work, or did it take you down roads you weren't expecting?
I did not think it would take quite so long, but what I did was did my reporting through the eyes of Black women epidemiologists who have been looking at this topic for decades. And I started out with the 2022 study that made a link between frequent relaxer use and a more than double risk of uterine cancer in Black women. And then I went backwards. And then I was working on a study with only 4 children who were developing early puberty, earlier than 8. And so it was a twisty, turny, long time, but I took my time because I didn't want to cause alarm. I wanted to make sure that the science was really in place.
And the best stories, of course, are the ones that take those twists and turns. And did you find a larger story here about healthcare in America for Black Americans, Black women in particular?
I think the bigger story was about health in America and racial health disparities, whereas We've known for a very long time that Black women are more susceptible to a number of reproductive health disorders, but it was complicated and confusing set of circumstances as to why. So when I was looking at some of these studies, they started making sense when they were making the link between endocrine disruptors, which cause early puberty, and these cancers that can sometimes follow it, and also to fibroid tumors, which are the leading reason for a cesarean section. So that was kind of the thing that I was really trying to follow. I also was very interested in the lack of regulation of these products that are so heavily marketed to Black women and girls, and also the societal pressure of Black women for century to wear straightened hair.
So let's see if I can touch on all three of those points you just made, because they're all so important. First, the risks from using these products. You've mentioned some of them. What are some of the other risks?
So the risk is that when you use the product, it burns on your scalp. And we've normalized the burning sensation that everyone complains about. But the burning of the scalp and the abrasions create an efficient entryway for the chemicals inside of them. And the main ones are, if your relaxer has formaldehyde in it, your straightener, then that is a known carcinogen. And then also the endocrine disruptors that cause early puberty and can lead to different kinds of cancers, uterine, breast cancer, which Black women tend to get a more aggressive, fast-moving, more deadly form of it, and ovarian cancer, as well as fibroid tumors.
Let's bundle the last two questions together. You mentioned the FDA and the cultural pressures. Can you go through those both very quickly at the end here?
Well, let me start with the FDA. I was surprised that the FDA only restricts or bans 9 chemicals, and the European Union restricts or bans 1,300. I actually thought it was a mistake. I was misreading. So that means that there's lax oversight over these products, cosmetics in general. But the ones that have the strongest chemicals are the ones that Black women and girls tend to use and are marketed aggressively toward us. And then the other thing is Black women have long been pressured into having straight hair as the expectation, that because it seems more professional, or it looks more professional, and it matters to your job and to your career.
Linda Vivros, excellent reporting, and we're very grateful you're with us. Thanks so much, Linda.
Wow.
This is a whole, it's interesting. I'm going to be transparent here and share. I think it was at 11, and it may have been earlier. It wasn't 9. It may have been earlier as 10. In my culture, my original culture in Panama, it was a normal thing for children, young Black girls, you had to have your hair straightened. So of course I went through the rites of passage of having my hair straightened, right? My mother took me, had my hair straightened. When she talks about that burning, I don't know, Sean, if you've ever had your hair straightened. That thing is serious, right? You literally feel like your head is on fire. And I remember going back to memories of that. You'll feel like your brain is on fire. It's not just your scalp. It's a heat that overtakes your head and your brain. I remember at one point, and I believe that this was by choice, there was a particular, because you had to go to the beauty salon to get this done. There was a particular woman in the community who she made her own chemical relaxer, and it was totally lye-based. There was no buffer in there. It was lye.
Wow.
But your hair became so straight. And that's what everyone was looking for, right? We used to call it pelo lashmi back. It's sitting on backs, right? Straight. It would last for a while, and it was this lady would literally buy lye, mix it, and we would all go sit there and have our hair lye, filled with lye. I remember that when I got married, I had to move to another country because my husband was Costa Rican. And I went to her and I begged her, and she said, listen, this is not something that I sell. I use it because it's very strong, it's very potent. I don't sell it because I want to, I want to be able to, I guess she doesn't want any problem. She didn't want any problems. So she herself would put it in. She didn't want anyone. And I begged her and I bought some from her. We got married. we went to this place, and there was another a pastor's wife who was Panamanian who used to do relaxers. And I said to her, hey, I have this relaxer that I used to use in my country. I used to use in Panama, because she's from Panama too. I want you to try this relaxer on my hair. It's homemade, blah, blah, blah. No, this was a girl who was experienced in putting in relaxers, right? This was not me, and the girl puts in the relaxer. What I did not realize was that this lady had a way of combing it very quickly through your hair, because she knew. So she would pop, 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 and wash it. So my friend is doing the regular relaxer thing, right? And of course, I'm not an expert in that. She puts it in, she combs it one time, and she lets it sit, because that's what you usually do with relaxers for a minute. When she comes back to comb, my entire thing, I don't know how I didn't leave my scalp on that comb.
Wow.
I had this big gaping bleeding hole, and she was screaming, shocked, like, oh my God. I'm like, don't worry, just here, it's gonna grow back, no worries. I'm trying to, because I should not have done that. She's washing it out, oh my God. I have had severe issues with fertility. I've had fibroids as huge as this, right? The first time I went to remove fibroids, there were dozens of fibroids. I know in the United States it's not a custom, but I actually had it done by a family friend, a doctor in Panama, and they took pictures of it and showed me. These were babies. I had babies, all kind of sizes inside of me. All right. I still have the file somewhere. I directly linked my issues of infertility and those issues with fibroid, which, by the way, they removed them and they came back. And I decided, let me change my lifestyle, because I'm not undergoing surgery again. I am just not going, because it was painful, right? I'm not doing that again. So I'll just have to change my lifestyle and hope that it shrinks. And they did, but I still struggle with them. I linked that directly to the study that Dr. Villagrosa is sharing here, right? We cannot, as women of color, put ourselves, and listen, a lot of it is ignorance. We didn't know better. Our mothers didn't know better.
Generational.
It's generational. We thought that this was the way. Listen, my mother herself, she cut her hair and she became natural too after a while, and she realized, like, this is crazy, right? We need to remember that there's no way on earth that if we try to look like a certain standard or a certain thing or a certain fashion, that will not make us more beautiful than we already are.
Yeah.
It will not. We're trying to put on a mask.
Yes.
Right? We're trying to wear a mask. But we need to think of the unintended consequences, as in my case, right? Of what these things that we do to ourselves to reach to that beauty standard, what does it create in us and the generations to follow? But anyway, enough about me. Let's hear you ladies when you hear about that. And now I even have students who are Asian telling me that they're putting in relaxers in their hair also, right? So women of all color putting in these relaxers in their hair.
I knew a Jewish teacher who did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The same, because you had to have this particular standard of what beauty is. And the generational curse, I don't even know if that's
it is a generational curse.
Is we were conditioned in the world to meet that particular standard. Now, what makes white or European standards ultimate? I don't know how we have all bought into this, because we are naturally beautiful no matter where we come from.
Absolutely.
But it has damaged not only us physically, and as Norka, you're linking it to say your own experience, but emotionally, where there's the talk about the body shaming, and because we don't look, and our hair is not let me tell you, a certain way. It's over, I don't know how many years, when I decided to no longer relax. At the time, it was called a perm the hair.
Right.
My parents really didn't believe in it. It was a minimal thing. When I was able to go back to my natural hair pattern, curl pattern, I forgot the beauty of what was beneath those chemicals.
Wow.
And to embrace it, it was just, wow, how did I forget this is what was there, and that I didn't need all of these other things to make it, beautiful, or to just sit there in its own state. And it's on my head, it belongs to me. It's just so damaging for generations to come, because there are still people out there. I don't know if you all have seen it on social media, where this is my hair, I'm going to do what I want. Yes, you can.
That's
But
right.
the damage of what you're doing to your body, it you may not realize it now, but perhaps later on, if it's not you, it'll be someone very close in your inner circle, I'm sure, who will share the damage that these chemicals created, because we wanted to look a particular way: straight hair, straight noses, thin lips, even to our dress.
Yeah.
And to reduce, I think people of color, we love colors, and then we just became blah.
And
Black,
there's
white,
a lot of
gray,
Beige.
sparkles,
yeah, beige.
beige.
There's a lot of social pressure under it, because Shonda, years ago, I remember I was in your congregation. Do you remember when I became natural, when I started wearing a huge afro?
Mhm.
And people were not happy. People were just like, you're the first lady, you're not supposed to have your
Right.
that. I remember I was going to another congregation. A woman stopped in the line on the day, when they welcome the minister to the congregation, and the members are stopping by to say hello, and a woman said to me, you are now at this renowned church, I'm not going to call their name, you're now at X church, you need to relax your hair.
Mm.
This is not acceptable here.
What?
In the line on the first meeting, or the first worship service that we're attending, and you're meeting me for the first time. This is what this woman, and
Wow.
I said, she don't know me. She will
Yeah.
not. And I remember an older woman said to me years later there, she said, when you walked in that church with your husband, she said, my eyes and my mouth were open, because I'd never seen anything like you. I said, what do you mean? He said, you were with your natural hair. She said, I'd never seen, I was just besides myself. Like, this is going to be they say first lady or pastor's wife. And this is how she's presenting herself. And then she said, I would watch you every week. And she was like, this lady really don't care. She's rocking her hair and she don't care. She said, I grew to love it. He said, and I then became natural because of you.
Oh.
Right? So there's a lot of social pressure behind
Yeah.
this idea.
And I want to,
Go ahead,
to
Teresa.
expand on that. And I think that the more that we observe what other people are doing on television,
Mhm.
right? Because
Mhm.
this is I think when did relaxers come into use historically?
Actually, to think about this, Madam C.J. Walker
She started.
created.
Yeah. And so what was that? What time? Like it didn't come in,
When there was no TV. That's
there
what
was no TV. So this is
And- and
this is the
print.
point.
and newspaper, because she advertised
She
But
was
this- the-
hair straightening product.
right. She
The
did.
point is that we as women are sold a bill of goods. Like, this is what
Yes.
beauty is. And the more social media, the more images we have in front of us, the more bombarded we are by that, the more we believe it.
And then
So-
we believe that we need to
We
rise
believe
to that.
that's what I should look like. Like, oh man, my behind doesn't look that way. I have to go get, what do they call it?
The
BBL.
BBL.
Cement
Oh.
injected.
Oh, my waist isn't small enough. I have to, put, women were doing that, back in, Regency time, like putting on corsets that
Yes.
were
Yeah.
suffocating them, that they would, they would faint because of the trauma that their body was going through. Like they were so restricted. And you know what's even the worst part of this is that a lot of the fashion and beauty and everything that we images, this is not from a female gaze, it's from a male gaze.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa.
And
That's
we have bought into it.
Internalized it.
We have internalized it. We want, like,
To
we want
please.
that attention. And I think that, what has happened is, to each his own, right? I'm not here to criticize what women do or have done or
Right.
will do, but what I find incredibly painful as a woman is to know that there are a lot of women torturing themselves, placing themselves under the knife to look a way that they consider is going to be what is appropriate. And these, what is attractive, not appropriate, what is attractive to men. Okay. And so I think that is where we need to, as women, we need to wake up and say, hey, this is like so creepy, because
I love the word.
the creep who created Victoria's Secret.
Yes.
He's a, he's convicted sexual harasser.
Yes, yes.
Like, and like, who wears that kind of underwear? Like, really, and this is the male gaze and the male fantasy, and we as women need to stop buying into that because it's not making us happy.
Teresa, this is powerful. Powerful what you have said right here. It's worth a lot.
And you know what's really scary? Our Asian women, our Asian young women are changing their natural like eyes, their legs. You know that there's this one young woman, I read this, I heard this documentary on how many young Asian women are even going through leg surgery.
Yes.
Like really, risking their entire health and the rest of their life.
Yeah.
To fit in to that beauty standard that is unreal, that's fantastical. It is fantastic because it is not real. It's a fantasy.
Yeah.
It is not, that's not how we look as women.
Yeah.
And it is unfortunate, that we keep wasting our health primarily and our money and our time, and it's true. I know, and maybe this is because now there's wisdom, there's years of wisdom that have set in, as a woman, for myself. But I hurt to see all these young women mutilating themselves.
And Teresa, you're not talking also about the whitening creams that I sold. So I see them sold here in New York.
In India. And
in Africa. I see a lot of women buying these whitening creams, and these things are so toxic, for their bodies. Again, this standard that we believe that the standard of beauty, we are not up to the standard of beauty. So we need to follow this particular standard to the detriment of our
health, of our lives.
Yeah. And we're saying, oh, I don't care, I want to, because again, you don't believe in your mind that you're good the way you are, you're enough. Right. So I don't care. I'm gonna put on the whitening cream, look like a ghost, because it looks really awful when they find it, and damage my kidneys, my liver. But I'll be looking like what I think is the beauty standards. It's so toxic. So if you think about it, it's really in our minds. That toxicity really starts in our mind. But anyway, ladies, damage control. Go ahead, Shauna.
Listen, Malcolm X said, "Who told you?" Like, and I may be paraphrasing even wrong, and forgive me, but something along the lines of, "Who told you who told you you were not worth who you are? Who told you you had no value?" And just a little bit to touch historically again, I even think about the Asian women who wore those wooden shoes.
Oh, mercy, yes.
Feet.
Their toes were tied down.
Yes.
Deformed.
They
For
didn't
that,
to be
for the fantasy of men. That was really what that was. For the fantasy of men.
A fetish of a child's foot. So you just fixated on...
Literally damaged your feet. But anyway.
The Mayans.
In pain.
The Mayans would
use
wood to press down on a young child's cranium because it represented status. So we can keep on going back and back and back on how it's just so right now. It used to be, I think, before in certain echelons of society even more prevalent because they had the resources, they had the resources to do that. But now it's like everybody can go and say, you know what, I'm gonna go look. You know what is so, I'm so sad to know young ladies that, I mean, they're in their prime of their lives. Their skin is gorgeous and
Yes.
beautiful, and and they're going to get work done cosmetically when they are in the prime of their lives. I'm sure that, as an, the older I get, I mean, I don't know, maybe someday I'll be like, oh, I need to go do something, but I've gone through that stage already. I've already, and I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm just saying, as a young woman, you don't need that, and a lot of young women are doing so many of these cosmetic procedures and really ruining their skin, their face. And in the future, Lord, I mean, I don't know what they're going to look like because they have damaged themselves so much. And that is very, sad for me to see. And as a woman, I'm like, I pray for them because these are gorgeous women, like beautiful women. And I pray for all the young girls that I interact with my daughters, with my students here. I pray that they will make the best choice for them.
Before going into damage control, I remember one time a gentleman was sharing that he had been to Asia, and there was this tattoo artist, and he went to like interview this man because the tattoos were beautiful, and he said, how is the process? And he said, before I tattoo on the skin, it's already tattooed in their mind. So we need to reframe our minds and the way we view ourselves, because before we do these things, we're constantly believing that we're not good enough, right? So the tattoo is already on our mind, so then we go and we do. But anyway, let's do damage control on this particular piece. And this is our last recording for the season. What are some things that we need to repair as women when we think about these beauty standards, particularly these European beauty standards that we're trying to constantly reach and achieve?
Think about this. Many European countries have a high standard of banning a whole host of chemicals, products, etc., that are not healthy. When it comes to foods, there's certain things, like these colorful, fruity, sugary cereals, those things are banned. And those same things can happen here, especially now that Linda Villarosa has created this whole, outline for the government to see. Those chemicals that have caused this damage, there's a proof. They always look for proof, right? Maybe it needs to come from a white person to say that it's valid. But here she has the proof. Ban those chemicals.
Yeah.
Let's try and start with that. Let's make legislation, make that their priorities when they come back in off of their July break and after the 4th of July. Start banning things that are damaging, that have caused damage to the women of their society.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's like with everything. Ultimately, the consumer has the power.
That's right.
But we need to be, consumers that are informed. Just like we began to expect better, like, less use of pesticides in our food, and we started, demanding better quality products, and we're getting that, right? We like, people are like, hey, I want cotton instead of all this, plastic on my body. And people are asking. And now the market is flooded with better quality products because we as consumers have power. So we need to do the same thing with any kind of, product. We need to ask for the highest quality, and make sure that, we understand that we do have a say, right? And I think that what we're doing right now, and hopefully there'll be some young women who have beautiful natural, I don't know. I didn't know this, but curls have like a number, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like you have a, what is it?
You have a pattern, 4C, 2C, you have a pattern, yeah.
Right? Okay. So, no matter where you are, I mean, it's gorgeous. Actually, some of my very closest friends from college, it was like it's something that we hadn't realized, but they had like super curly hair, like and it's always been we've always talked about how beautiful their hair is, right? And if they'll straighten it like on like a special occasion, right? But it's like it's really weird to see them because they have beautiful curly hair, and anyway, it's just something that I always try to encourage them. I have wavy hair, I don't have curly hair, but I always get to see them in their full splendor of curls. I think that straight hair, curly hair, whatever it is that you have been blessed with, that you embrace that, that is who you are. That's what your genetic lottery,
that's right, love it,
gifted, that's your prize, right?
Love it. Love it.
When we sacrifice our health for somebody, because the reality is that we think more about what other people are thinking of us than our like, how is this affecting my health? We tend to do that, right? I mean, most of us, right? How is this going to look on me?
Right.
Is it too tight? Are the heels, you haven't even talked about heels, and that's a whole nother thing, right? That, it's, why do women put on heels?
Yeah.
Why do we wear stockings, and who created stockings?
Yeah. Listen, I want to add as my damage control in this final session of Pink Room XP, that there is the social pressure that is placed on women. There's also our own personal pressure that we place on ourselves. But there's also still a lot of race-based here discrimination in the workplace.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Right?
There's still a lot. For you to look presentable and professional, you need to do this. Shonda mentioned a little bit about the colors. You need to have these muted colors if you are professional and dress this way. Your hair needs to look this way. That's why I so support the Federal Crown Act, right? Yes. Which does not allow anyone to discriminate anyone because of their hair.
Yeah.
However they want to wear their braids, however they want to wear their hair, natural afros. I remember it was the 2000s when I was rocking a big afro coming into academia to teach, and people were like, what? It's not the 70s, but thankfully nobody said anything except they were surprised at it. But we should allow women to live. Let women be whatever we want to be, present ourselves however we feel that is the best way to present with the best version of ourselves. That should always be respected, and stop holding women and holding ourselves as women and the circles around us, family, church, community, to these ridiculous standards that really have no basis at all. So that would be my damage control, that we need to stop this idea that to be presentable, you need to look this, match these check marks, because it is literally killing us. And I'm telling you from my own experience, it is killing us. We thank you again. We hope you have been informed, but we also hope that you've been encouraged and inspired. And we invite you to our next season. And in the meantime, rewatch some of the stuff, but most importantly, have the deeper conversations with the people around you about some of these topics. We're opening it up so that you can take it and then run with it, right? So thank you so much, Teresa. Thank you so much, Shonda. It's been a good season. It's been a very interesting season. We know that next season will bring around the same thing. We wish everyone all the best, and we hope to be with you again soon. Have a good one, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.